Hello again, everyone, and welcome to this second video in the Let's Make a Game series, where we are making a top-down aircraft bombing action game. So, in this one, we have quite a lot of things to do, so let's get right to it. Firstly, if you remember the previous video, the camera was not smoothing well. It sort of seemed a little bit jittery. So to fix that, let's go into the camera manager quickly and let's put this update function. Let's fix this and put it into late update actually. So late update runs right after update, and the camera was a little bit jittery because we actually were running it in update, and sometimes you have input functionality in update as well, and that was causing the update function to not really do. There's no sequence, no chronological event of sequence, so it was sort of trying to do it at the same time. Now it's going to run this script just one frame after the update, and therefore it'll work correctly. So if we look at it now, it'll be pretty smooth if it works well. Yeah, that's a lot better. Okay, so now that that's done, I want to quickly discuss a little bit about what I think we should make for the art style for this game, for the general theme. I think it will be a sort of a cartoony kind of thing, sort of stylized but not very texture heavy, sort of just simple textures, maybe a few gradients. So we're going to get into creating that now, creating a character model and an enemy model, and perhaps maybe like a piece of debris or an asteroid or something that the player has to resist. For this one, I want it to be sort of not like space themed or anything. It's just going to be like normal airplanes, maybe even a little bit older airplanes. So what the obstacles like this one here could be, I haven't really decided yet, but we can figure that out as we go along. Doesn't really matter. I mean, it's a game, it doesn't have to be believable. So I think for a start, let's sort of define what we want the art style to be. So I'm just going to use paint.net for this. You can use Photoshop or GIMP or whatever. Paint.net is just easier and quicker for me, just to do it, really fast. And I'm just going to make a 1K texture for this. And yeah, let's just define some basic colors. It's not going to be a very advanced texture space or anything. So it doesn't, I'm just going to use, this is going to sort of be like an atlas. So I'm going to show you how to do that and how to use an atlas. This is not really the general way to do it. Using an atlas, usually you would have just a bunch of like blocks of colors that are set apart from each other, and then you would just drag your UV mapping into those colors. But for this, I want it to be sort of like a cool gradient style that will overlap. So that's why I've gone the way I have. Excuse me. So I'm just going to define some basic shades. It's not going to have a really like rich color space or anything. Just some basic stuff, just some basic colors, and then we're just going to smooth them to sort of create like a gradient effect, and we might play around with the saturation and brightness and contrast a little bit to sort of get an effect where it sort of looks a bit older. So let's just set up some basic colors. Let's do a few blues. We don't need this white because we already have one. Like I said, this is not the general way of doing atlases, but I mean, you can really be creative and play around and just do it the way that you would like to do it. There's no rule per se. You can really just do what you want. Okay, we got some nice blues there. Let's get some nice oranges and reds now. Using a palette like this could be quite limiting in terms of color options, but you could always expand it later if you need to. Okay, that's a nice sort of orange. Let's just do a little bit more dark like that. That to 100 and 0. Maybe a bit more colorful. There we go. I want one orange color as well, so I'm gonna make this one a little bit orangey. Yeah, there we go. It's quite good. Okay, and then lastly let's add some greens, maybe a purple. Just have some basic colors. Let's add some greens to this now. Yeah, something like that. Verging on yellow as well. And then let's just do some sort of a purple color. Something like that. And let's just fix this. There's a little bit of bleeding over there. There we go. Okay, so now let's add some sort of a blur effect to it to have that gradient effect. There's a lot of things you can do with Paint.net if you use plugins. It can be quite powerful. Let's see what this works out to be. It's quite cool, maybe a bit too much. Something like that. Let's try some different blurs as well and see what looks the best, because you have a lot of options. Let's do like let's do a motion blur downwards and see how that works out. It's kind of similar. It's quite a cool effect, I think. Yeah, something like that will work. And then let's play around with the posterization a little bit. Have it give it like a little bit of an older look. Yeah, I'm just trying to define the size of the posterization right now and see. Yeah, let's just keep it quite. I think actually, let's have no posterization. Let's just use it as it is. I think this will be good. We just need to add a bit of black, because we might need some black shade. So let's just make it like that. There we go. And then to give ourselves a little bit of tone, more options in tone, let's just split this. And we could invert, it's a bigger color range, but it's quite similar. Let's just see what it looks like if we just change the saturation a little bit, because we can get some yellows and maybe some. Let's just go with the inversion. I think that works well, gives us a few more options. Right, let's save this Atlas. Let's just save it to desktop. We'll just call this Atlas 1. And let's just get it from there. Paste it into our project. We don't have any texture folders set up yet, so let's set that up. We can actually call this Atlas 1 diffuse, because it is a diffuse map. Okay, so now we have a basic look and theme that we might strive for. We could change this later. We'll see how it looks when we actually model. So let's get to that. Let's model one or two things. So we're going to start with an airplane for the player. This is going to be quite basic. It's going to have quite a basic art style. It's not going to be very fancy or anything. It's going to be quite low poly as well. So let's just add some basic. We could do a mirror modifier so that we don't have to do both. And okay, so that'll be like the midsection of the plane. We'll give it a bit more definition. trying to remember what a plane looks like right now. Sort of have it taper off here at the end. Yeah, that's decent. And we'll add a bit more geometry to that in a second, and then the same thing at the front. There we go. Let's just delete those extra faces. And give it a bit of height variation. Cockpit might be around here. Yeah, let's let's split it double fold so that we have to do even less. Okay, let's do the wing. I have no idea how big airplanes' wingspans actually are. I'm just going to do something that feels sort of right. You know, it's stylistic anyway, so it doesn't matter that much. Just something like that, something quite basic. If we do want some sort of texture detail, we'll get that from working on the mesh itself, because we don't have any detail in our textures. They are quite, it's just gradients. So we might get some detail from the mesh. Hardest part of this is remembering what an airplane looks like. Okay, let's do a little bit at the back. Needs to be longer, perhaps. Okay, now let's add some fins, maybe. Might be a bit high. Let's give it some rotation, make it straight. And what else does it need? It needs some propellers. This might need to be a bit sharper at the back here. I've already forgotten what an airplane looks like. Let's delete these extra faces. And we'll have a few here now as well. I like to grab these faces, what do you call these, edges, and I like to straighten them by actually just scaling the rotation, which forces it to straighten itself. Okay, I think that's a decent shape. We'll delete that second fin because of the rotation, because of the mirroring now. Do airplanes have propellers at the back? I don't think so. I think these wings might be a bit too tall. Okay, and then you need some guns, some propeller. Just close those seams. Some propellers. Let's define the cockpit area a little bit. Like I said, this is going to be quite stylized and unrealistic, so the model proportions doesn't have to be very good. I'm just trying to bang this out really quick, not to take too much time making models, because it's just going to be showcase models anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Just setting up some sort of a basic cockpit. And then let's intrude these a little bit so that it looks like windows. Nice, it's pretty good. Okay, not going to be able to exit the airplane at all, so it doesn't really matter what the if there's a door. Yeah, we'll fix all of this when after the mirror, after we've established the model itself. We'll just fix this quickly. I think this end is a bit too thick. Like I said, it doesn't really matter much. It's just a showcase model for the project, but don't want it to look too unrealistic either. Okay, let's give this a bit of a smoothing over here. That's pretty cool. Okay, and then before we add the propeller and the missiles, let's fix the mesh quick. So we'll apply the modifier, and then we'll delete these ones that we don't need. I'm just going to delete the faces, and then we'll just link it back up. Usually when using mirror modifiers, you'll probably do texturing as well, because that way it'll save half the texture space when you have a mirrorable object, game object. But for this, we are using an atlas that is just gradients, so you know there's no need to save on texture space. So it's not needed. For this, it doesn't really matter because it's all going to use one texture anyway, and we'll instance the material for some good performance. So it's not an issue for this. Okay, that's cool. We could give it some sort of a... I mean, you'll not really be able to see this as the player, except if we do some sort of a rolling mechanic later on, but let's just do it anyway, just make it look cool. So I'm going to give this a bit more. There we go. We'll just give it some sort of a hatch where the bombs could drop out of. Because I'm going to add a edge splitting modifier to this. It's just easier than having to define hard edges. It's just quicker. And for this kind of game, it doesn't really need that sort of definition. I feel like this needs to be maybe flattened a bit. That looks pretty cool. Let's just make it seem a bit more natural. A bit more of a natural curve. There we go. That's decent. I think these wings are a bit too far in the front as well, so we'll just move them back a little bit. Like I said, this model is just going to use basic texture methods, so it doesn't really matter what we do with the mesh too much, because we don't need those sort of geometries to be perfect. Let's lower these a little bit. Yeah, something like that. That's fine. Let's flatten this a little bit. And then we need to add a propeller and some missiles. We should probably animate the propeller as well, but I don't want to take too much time doing this model in this video, so we will do that in the next video. We could just animate everything together. For now, I'm not going to bother. It'll just be stationary for now. Just want to remove some of the polys for this because it doesn't have to be so high poly. So this will be the propeller. We'll just add some blades. Might need it to be a little bit more. I need to add one there. line there as well. While we're at it, let's just do all of them. Okay, now it should be fine. So these will be our propellers. We'll just extrude these. Let's just do it one by one. Okay. That one is not lined up, I don't think. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, once again, I mean, it's really cartoony, so the geometries and the scaling and everything doesn't have to be perfect. Just want to fix this curvature a little bit. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, let's combine those. I like to remove doubles every now and then, just because I'm not sure if there is any. Okay, let's add some guns. These will be really basic as well. Let's put them on top so the player can actually see them. And let's align it with the geometry like that. Fold that face and drag it out a little bit. Okay, it's too big right now. Let's just define these to look kind of cool and unique. I don't remember what airplane guns even look like. Maybe something like that. Let's give them a bit of geometry to make it look like they are attached to this airplane. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That one is too tall. There we go. Not quite. It's a little bit more. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Let's set the location and rotations and duplicate with mirroring. And let's add another one. I think that's okay. Okay, let's apply, and there we are. So that's our basic model plane model. It's quite basic, like I said. It's not great, but you know, it's I just wanted to make something really quickly that we can just use for this. I'm sure if you end up making a project using these tutorials, you will make your own stuff or get something from download sites, which there are so many of anyway. Okay, let's just do this properly. There we go. Okay, let's texture this, which will be really fast. Let's rename it first. We'll just call it player plane, player airplane, airplane 1. Fix that. Let's just call it airplane 1. Doesn't need that, because we might use it in this video for the enemies as well. Just give it a different texture or something. Okay, so we got to fix the rotations. That's what I just did. So Z is forward in Unity, and so that's the blue one, and green is up. So if you need to rotate your model in Blender to work with Unity, this is how you do it. Forward blue, up green. Okay, let's apply those rotations. I think we need to make this a bit sharper. It seems a bit Yeah, that's a bit better. So, not a perfect model, but it's good enough for now. Let's save this to our project. We'll just save it in templates, call it let's make a game. What was it called? Let's make a game, top-down aircraft bombing action game. You could call this whatever you like when you make your own models. I mean, this is just how I do it. I've got a bunch of stuff that I sell, which is also in here. That's what that stuff is. And airplane 1. Okay, this scale might be weird. I think it might be a bit small for an airplane. Let's just make it a bit bigger. Okay, and let's export this into our projects. Templates. Okay, airplane 1. Usually I would make it a bit more detailed in the hierarchy, but we will get to that in a later video when we work on that a bit more. Okay, it should be in our project now. And there we go, airplane 1. So let's see what this looks like in terms of scale. For this model, we will be using the mechanism animation, so we will leave the scale set to 1. Right now we don't have any animations. When we do, it'll probably be a generic rig, and we don't need to import the materials. We'll just make our own materials in Unity. So it's a bit big right now. Looks pretty cool. Let's make it maybe half that size. Yeah, I think that's okay. We could always adjust the camera or decrease the scale even more. Let's do it 1 more. Okay, so that's cool for scale. And then let's give it some basic textures for now. We'll use cycles because it's just easier to use. Okay, let's just choose our atlas. Okay, it's mapped in the red color space right now. Well, it's not really mapped at all, but we'll just do a smart unwrap for this, and we will just set it to whatever color. Let's make this one, let's give it like a blue gradient kind of color, and we'll define it a bit more. So that's the base color. Looks pretty cool. And let's define it a little bit. Actually, let's make it green because we want the windows to be blue. As you can see, the gradient looks pretty cool. It gives it a few areas of color depth, just so it's not like one solid color throughout. That could become a little bit boring. And then let's just define some of these. Let's make the guns two-tone. Let's say something like that. Let's re-unwrap these, and we will just add these to a darkish area, maybe over here. So this is how I work with atlases. Just drag it where you want the color to be. It's pretty simple. It's an easy way to make stuff, and it doesn't take a lot of time. Such an interesting art style to use. Yeah, even if I had left it mirrored, we would have been able to do this quicker, but because of that geometry, that wasn't really possible. Okay, let's re-unwrap. And let's give it a bit of a lighter color, maybe something like that. That's fine. And for the insides, we'll just use black. The player won't be able to see it on his own ship, but he might be able to see it on the enemy ships, so we'll just give it a little bit of definition. There we go. That's the guns. Let's do the windows. Some sort of a blue color, that's pretty cool. I think we should make these in a line up a little bit because the color space is a bit too different right now. That would be fun, I think. Maybe limit it a little bit. Yeah, there we go. That looks quite cool. Let's do the edges of these windowsills. Okay, let's re-unwrap those. Usually you would obviously define seams and unwrap in a more natural way, but because we don't need any real detail, we just do it this way because it's quick. And oh, we missed these. And we just don't need that level of detail. We don't need a smooth unwrap because we don't really have a texture. We just use one texture for everything, so we just don't need it to unwrap well. So that's why I'm just using this smart unwrap, because it's really not needed for anything more right now. Okay, that's fine. Let's give it a few detailed spots just to not have it be too plain. That was a pun, I think. Not intentional. Actually, let's just remove this for now because it's in the way. Okay, and then let's have a few areas that are colored differently, just to bring a bit of depth to the color. Maybe something like that. Okay, re-unwrap that. What color are we gonna want this to be? Let's see what it looks like. That actually looks pretty cool. Like a gray kind of thing. Yeah, I kind of like that. Not sure what happened with that one. It's meant to be in there. Okay. Just did the same for the back here. Something like that. Okay, and then let's give this one its own colors. Yeah, like I said, this model is more about making it quickly than quality, really. So it's not going to be the best looking thing, but you know, doesn't really matter. Okay, and let's give this maybe something that's contrasting the maybe red. That could be cool. Yeah, that looks quite cool. I think we need to bring a little bit more red into the model at some place, but I'm not sure where really. It's not really, doesn't really fit. I think this is fine for the player's ship. Okay, that's the player, airplane 1, and then that's the fun one for the enemy. Gonna be the same mesh, but let's just save it as airplane 2. And we'll just change the main color, which is this. We'll just make that red. There we go. That was quick and easy. Okay, let's save it again, and let's export this as well. row plane. Okay. Let's create a material for these planes. You can do that by dragging the texture onto the onto the game asset, to the game model. That looks quite cool. It's quite a cartoony look, which is what we are after. Not geometrically correct, but that's what cartoony games do. I like to name these accurately, and I think for this we can use an unlit kind of art style. That might look cool. We'll just use an unlit art style for now. We could change later if we feel the need to. And let's set up this player game prefab here. So we'll move this muzzle into the player, and we just need to copy these onto the player, the new player model. Let's do that quickly. Okay, there we go. And then we will just need to add a box collider to it. Let's go ahead and tag this as player because we'll need that later. And let's just add a box collider to it as well. We'll make this a trigger so that it can be triggered. We'll make it a little bit smaller. Something like that. Not sure if I want the wings to be affected or only the main part of the... Let's just do the main part for now. We could change later if we need to. Something like that. Otherwise it's going to be too easy to hit the player. It's going to be too difficult for the player. Okay, that looks pretty cool. Let's see what it looks like when we fly. We haven't set it to the camera. We haven't told the camera what the player is. Camera, target, there we go. Airplane 1, that's the player. Okay, that looks cool, looks fine. I think we might need to change damping a little bit. Nah, seems to be better without any damping. Camera doesn't feel perfect yet, still a little bit, I don't know, just doesn't feel perfect. We could always change it in a later video, maybe we will, but for now it's fine, it works. Okay, let's have the player combat shoot bullets from all of the guns that we have set up for the player. In the future we will make muzzle flashes and stuff for the guns as well. For now we'll just keep it basic. So we're gonna want to set up 4 different instantiations when you shoot, and for each of those we will, for every time you shoot, we will subtract 4 bullets. That's why we set up this variable, this float, so that we can be able to do that. And now let's just set up 4 muzzle points because we only have the 1 right now. You could do this through an array as well, but you know, it's not that many, so I don't think it's necessary. We'll just do it here like this. That's fine. Okay, that should work. In the player combat manager script, save that. And let's go ahead and duplicate our muzzle so that we can add multiple. Let's just put it on in the right place first. this doesn't have to be perfect for now. We will configure it more later when we have the muzzle flash done. But we'll just keep it sort of basic for now. It's pretty good. Okay, I like to keep it clean, so let's name these. And let's configure them in the game object. And now it's going to cost 4 bullets to shoot once, and we have 10 bullets. Let's give ourselves a bit more so that we can test it out. See what it looks like. Yeah, that's pretty cool. There we go, that looks quite cool. Okay, so now let's firstly let's get started on the interface. There's a few things that we need to do yet, but I think let's do a basic interface just so that we can track our health and bullets. So we're going to set up a text. We might change this to some sort of a slider or something later, but for now we'll just have it be a text. And this is going to be player health. And we will call this player health text. Let's set this at the bottom left part of the screen. Let's give it 100, and for now we will change the color to white so it's easier to see. For the canvas itself, let's scale with screen size, and let's set it to HD ready. This will work better, I think, and we will set it in between these two. Or we could set it to width. Let's just set it in between. Okay. That looks fine. Let's make this a bit bigger, 18 maybe. Shouldn't resize that a little bit. Shouldn't clear this, it's quite annoying. Okay, and let's set up the variables that we need to see the player health and the player ammunition. Same thing for this, let's just put it on the right side, -100. There we go. And we will just have it aligned to the left, and we will have this, aligned to the right, and we will have this aligned to the left so that it looks natural. Okay, so firstly the health, player health manager. So for this we need to let Unity know that we are going to be using the GUI, so we do that by saying Unity engine.ui for interface. And then we need to set up some game objects, and this one will be player health text. I'll show you in a second why I set it up as a game object instead of a text, but you could do it either way. Okay, and then when we start, let's do this under the public. When we start, we want, damn it. We want the game object to pick up where the player health text is. So we set it up as a game object so that we will be able to find it. Game object.find, and let's search for it by name. You could use find to find tags as well. If you say find with tag, and then you'll just search for, say, enemy or player. But for this we need specific names. So we will find it. Okay, let's see if that works for a second. Okay, let's see if it finds it. There we go, it's found it. So it knows now what and where it is. That's meant to have collision, isn't it? Oh, it did. It just didn't destroy it. Let's fix that while we are here, because otherwise I'm gonna forget about it. We could do that in Collision Manager probably. It takes damage, but let's make a new variable, call it take damage destroy, so that it'll be sure to destroy the object. And we'll just set it to like a ridiculous amount. You'll remember that we set up these functions in the previous video. Now we're just adding to them. Let's just go destroy damage. Set that up over here. And let's copy this to the player's health script as well, because maybe there will be something that will destroy the player as well. Okay, so now when we fly into the anything named tagged enemy, it'll destroy that thing and it'll damage us by 30 health. Let's see if it gets destroyed. It has not. Oh, that's because we haven't actually set up the destroy damage. Let's make this 1,000. Same for the player. Should work now. Shooting looks pretty cool. Everything works. And boom, it's gone. And we have lost 30% health. Excuse me, I mean 30 damage, 30 health. Okay, back to what we were doing. Player health manager. So it finds the health text game object. Now we just need to tell it what to do with it. So we need to get this to find the text element in itself. Get component, so that's text. And then we need to tell it what to do with it. So we'll say get component text dot text, and then we will actually tell the text what to be. So for this, we want the text to be health. I keep pressing caps lock when I type. Plus, what was it called? Current health or something? Current health. Okay, so now it should find the player health text game object, and then we will alter its text value, and it'll say health, and we add a space here because we want a space, and then it'll show the health that the player is. So if we hit this thing, it'll go from 100 to 70 if it works. Let's see. There we go, it works. And there we go, 70 health. You can see it down here. But we need to actually tell it to limit itself in terms of decimals. So we'll say toString 0 for 0 decimals. Otherwise it'll have float values where it'll be, say, 0, 1, 2, whatever. It could be, if it's not, using float elements aren't always precise. So we just set the decimal value to 0 to tell it to only display no decimals. So it's only going to be the main number, the full number. There we go. I know you weren't able to see the difference, but yeah, we need to do this. So let's go ahead and do the same thing with the bullets. And this was current projectile animation text. Actually, what did we call it? Player animation text. Let's give it a current in there so that we, well, we didn't do it for the health. That's fine, let's just leave it like this. Okay, I'm just going to copy from the player half because it's easier. We'll just alter it. Let's put this here so that we can access it quicker. Okay, let's copy this and paste this here because we don't need it to be that. Okay. And let's copy this as well. So it's exactly the same thing that we were just doing. So right now, Unity doesn't know what text is because we haven't told it to use the interface. So let's do that. And toString, animation text. Not sure what the issue is here. Let's just leave it as is for now and see what happens. And this will be ammunition, right? Ammunition text, object. Okay. Okay, let's see if it finds it and if it works. That should go over there. Let's see. It does, but it's not showing the ammunition. That might be because of the size of the I think I've made a mistake. Oh, you see what it is we need to show the ammunition, not the ammunition text. We need to display that in the that's why the toString wasn't working, because it was trying to do it for a game object. Okay, should work fine now. We should actually make these a little bit, we should just give it a bit more space because we might have a lot of bullets later on. And then we'll need to move them. Let's just give it a little bit of space. 120 should be okay. There we go. It's working now. So you can see when we shoot, the bullets go down and it's set to 2 decimals only. I mean 1 decimal only, so that's why it does not go point, doesn't show any float values. Same for the health. Right now we can actually go into the minus. That's because we need to set up, we need to fix the minimum. It's shooting 4 bullets at the time, and the minimum is probably set to 0 right now, so we need to make the minimum lower. We can set the minimum to 3 right now. I'm just not sure that'll always work. So if you have 3 bullets or more than 3 bullets, although that should probably be 4. How did we do this? We said if it's bigger than the minimum. Okay, then 3 will work. We could say bigger than or equal to, which will be 4. Okay, so now we shouldn't be able to go under, because we have 1 bullet left. Let's do it this way, and then we'll make it 4. Okay. So now we should be able to fire all our bullets. Well, it doesn't, because we start out with 25 bullets. If it were 26 bullets, then it would, because it's a multiple of 4. I mean 24, not 26. But you get the point. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so it all works. It all looks pretty cool. Interface works. We can find a more advanced way of doing this in the future, but I think for now it's fine. We're always going to shoot 4 bullets at a time. We could possibly do a thing where if you have like 2 bullets left and only 1 or 2 of the guns would fire at a time, but I'm not going to get into that now because that'll take a bit too much time right now. So what else do we need to do for this video specifically? I wanted to work on the enemies a little bit, but I think that we don't really have enough time because this video is running long now. So I think let's make a bullet, and we'll just define the bullets for now. We'll just give the bullets a model and an art style, and that'll be it for today. Because the modeling took a bit of time, took a bit longer than I wanted it to. So let's just do a bullet. Let's just go open up the airplane so we can see the scale. Let's base the bullet off this, it'll be easier to work with then. Okay, so what I did there was I split the mesh so that I can use a specific part of it. And then I copied that. Okay, so that'll be our bullet. In size, we'll have it a bit smaller. Let's just put it center in the middle. That's not perfect because it's rotated weirdly. Yeah. There we go. Okay, now we need to close this up, make it seem like a bullet. I'm just closing these. Okay, let's smooth it out. It's too sharp. There we go, that's there. And yeah, we'll just close that up. Let's just do it the right way. There we go. And we'll just scale this down a little bit so that it's not the same size as the barrel that it's shot from. Fix the rotation, blue up, green, blue forward, green up. And we'll call this bullet 1. Okay, it's got the right material already. We'll just do this for us to work with inside Blender. Let's go ahead and save this. And let's give it a quick texture. What color are we going to make this? Let's give it like a normal, like sort of bullet gray kind of thing, and then we'll just add a few different colors to it. I'll be over there, and we'll make this red, just to make it seem dangerous, you know. Maybe something a bit brighter, something like that. Yeah. I just need to fix this. There we go. I think that's okay for the bullet. Let's export this to Unity. We will define the model hierarchy a bit more later. Don't want to take up too much more time now. Okay, we have our bullet. In a later video we will do shell casings for the bullet as well, so that we have falling shells when we shoot. It just adds a bit more to it, makes it seem a bit more natural. Okay, projectile 1 is our bullet. Let's define the model first. Oh, actually we are using the normal scaling from Unity, no animation for this. And let's just add that atlas to it. There we go. That seems weird. Let's fix that. Didn't notice it in the model. Yeah, that's because of the way it was unwrapped. Let's unwrap this properly because we need to fix that seam. That should work a bit better. It will still have a seam though, because we split it. But I think it'll look better. Yeah, that is better. Okay. Got a nice gradient effect going. There we go. Looks a lot better now. Okay, that's the model for our bullet. Let's just save this. Let's just save this. Yep. And then we need to define it as a bullet, so let's drag this out here. And just copy these like we did with the airplane. I'm going to copy the scripts first. Okay, and then it's just a rigid body and the box collider. Remember to give the I didn't actually do it. Remember to give the box collider a trigger, and it's got a rigid body, so it should work fine. And we will save it as projectile 1. Yep, airplane 1. I'm gonna change this name to player. Let's just change it to player. Just player is fine, and we'll drag this into the resources as well, because we might need to get it later. I think we've got quite a cool art style going. It's not very advanced or anything, but it's quite unique. Okay, let's test those bullets out. They should work fine. I don't foresee any issues. There we go. And you can see the red that I added to the backs of them. It just makes them look a bit more dangerous. One thing though, these bullets are a bit small. I think we should give them a bit more size, even if it doesn't fit the proportions, because we need to be able to see them. Okay, let's just make it 50% bigger, see what that looks like, and then we just need to fix the box collider. There we go, that's a lot better. Cool. Alright, so I think that's it for this video. We got a lot done today. I know a lot of time went towards the model of the airplane, so apologies for that, but we do need to get those kind of things done as well. As you can see, everything is working quite cool. We have a basic art style setup that we will define more later. And yeah, I think everything is working well. We could make the bullets a bit faster later. So to recap what we did today, we fixed the camera firstly, then we made the model for this. We defined an art style that is sort of a stylized, low poly geometric, gradient based art style, something pretty unique but pretty easy to do and pretty fast to do. Weird geometries, but that's fine. And then we made the bullets, and we added those in, stylized those, and then we worked on the interface so that you can now see your ammunition and your health. And we fixed the enemy so that you can now destroy him when you come in contact with him, but you also take damage. So it's quite basic still, everything. We have a lot still to do. I foresee this having at least 10 parts, and these videos are sort of like close to an hour each, so it's going to be quite a long series. But yeah, thank you for watching. If you like what I'm doing, if you would like to learn more, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Support me on Patreon if possible, so that it allows me to make more of this stuff. I am a one-man studio, and I'm trying to get my Patreon up and running to support me to be able to do more of this stuff, because I believe in sharing my knowledge, and I still have a lot to learn myself, but it's always good to help each other and share the kind of knowledge that we have. So I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one, and thanks for watching.